Thank you for your introduction and good morning, everyone. My name is Pham. I'm a senior research fellow and project director at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Today, I have the privilege to be one of your keynote speakers at the third Hanoi Forum for Pedagogical and Educational Science. During this talk, I'm going to share with you an idea of building a balanced system of assessment to address the assessment challenges while Vietnam is implementing the new general curriculum enacted in 2018. Without further ado, let me start my presentation by some background information of the talk and myself. So first, let me start my presentation by conveying my deepest gratitude to those who have been working hard to put this forum together. I co-chaired a conference 2 years ago for about 200 people, and I understand how hard it would be to organize this event. So thank you so very much for all the leader and staff from the University of Education, Vietnam National University, Hanoi, and all participants who came to the National Convention Center today for this event, and those who are following this event online. I'm deeply honored to have this chance to share with you my knowledge of educational assessment. As for my backgrounds, I grew up in Vietnam until the age of 23. Then I traveled to different countries in the hope of learning about the educational system so that one day I can come back and help the country out. Last year, when I was still at Educational Testing Service, His Excellency, Mr. Minister of Education and Training, Dr. Nguyễn Kim Sơn, paid a visit to the organization. It was my true honor to receive him in the US. After the visit, he told me to look into ways to support Vietnam education in one way or another. Today is one of the first chance for me to turn that recommendation from the minister into a reality. This is also my first time to be a keynote speaker at a conference, so bear with me and I hope you will enjoy my talk. So I will start off by briefly summarizing the history of educational measurement from the East to the West. Then I will focus on the 5 assessment challenges that Vietnam faces while implementing the new curriculum. In the next step, I will introduce the concept of a balanced system of assessment to address the assessment challenges. I will then show some example of each component of the system. And then I will conclude my talk by some policy recommendations and strategies to have Vietnam to develop and deploy such a balanced system of assessment. History of formal education measurement date back to more than 2,000 years ago. The first standardized test was created and administered in ancient China in the years of 206 before Christ. After that, the model was brought to other Asian countries, including Vietnam. As you can see in the top right picture, that was the testing site in Nam Định province back in 1894. The below picture show an example of feudal learning and classroom assessment during the time. Testing in the West also has a long history. So here are some examples of high-stake tests that has been used across the globe for many years. For instance, the Grand École test in France has been used for more than 200 years. In recent decades, we have been seeing a rapid expansion of the field of educational measurement, in which system try to provide more comprehensive learning and assessment tools to teachers and learners. A system like Assessment iReady or IXL from the US are a few examples of such assessment and learning platform that they relies on digital technology and online system to support instruction and student learning. Let me now come back to the present to look into some of the challenges that Vietnam is facing when we put the new general curriculums into practice. So just to be completely honest, by no means I'm an expert on the new general curriculums, but from my reading of it, here are some few key feature of the curriculum that I think will have implication from an assessment perspective. It is stated that the curriculum is open and competency-based. It aims to help students to develop 5 core qualities and 10 competency. The qualities are patriotic, humanistic, diligent, honest, and responsible. Some of the 10 competencies are self-study, communications and collaboration, problem solving, and creative thinking. The key question here are, how can we help students develop the quality and competency? And how do we know that they possess these qualifications by the time they exit K-12 system? And the new curriculum is also trying to support personalized learning pathway for individual students as well. So pedagogical research can help answer the first question about how can we help students to learn. And then the assessment know-how can offer insight into the second question of how do we know that students possess these qualifications when they exit the curriculum. In the next slide, we will look into how educational measurement inform us about the challenges we face when we implement the new curriculum. So of central concern to many assessment, especially high-stake assessment such as graduations or admission tests, is to make sure the results are reliable, valid, and fair to all the students taking the test. So the first challenge is to maintain a high level of reliability, validities, and fairness for all of the assessment with a particular focus on summative and high-stake tests. The second challenge is to keep track of student progress so we can support each and every one of them along the way. Without longitudinal records of student learning, it will be much harder to facilitate personalized learning pathways. The third challenge related to the integration nature of some subjects, such as science in the new curriculum. When several traditional subjects are integrated into a new course, such as natural or social sciences, instruction and assessment need to be adapted to these contents as well. And the fourth challenge is to measure the 21st century scale that specify in the new curriculum, such as teamwork, problem solving, and creative thinking, just as a few examples. So hardly can traditional assessment using selected response be the best tool to measure those competency. And the last challenge arose from the purpose of the new curriculums to support personalized learning pathway. To that end, assessment should provide individualized and actionable feedback to support each student during their learning journey. In what follow, I will introduce the concepts of a balanced system of assessment to address those 5 challenges. First, what is a balanced system of assessment? Wiley and Lyon, 2017, define a balanced system of assessment is a well thought out ecosystem of assessment that align with a curriculum and instruction to support instruction, student learning, and well-being in all areas of the curriculum. So the key word here is an ecosystem and a comprehensive area within the curriculum. You can think of these as areas as the 5 quality and 10 competency of the new curriculum. So not just only 1 qualities or a few competency, it is 5 qualities and 10 competency, and we need to have different purpose, different tools and format to measure different qualities and different competency. So if we only want to develop 1 or 2 quality or competency, we might not need a comprehensive system of assessment to keep track of student learning in all of the dimension. The balanced system of assessment will support student comprehensive learning and well-being by having different components to serve different purposes, different instruments to measure different competencies, and different tools and accommodations to support different student groups and offer content in varied format and devices to meet the needs of a variety of stakeholders. I will discuss this feature of the system in the next few slides. So first of all, the balanced system assessment need to support different measurement purposes. We can range from a formative nature to a nationwide summative assessment, as shown in this graphic. In between the formative and the statewide summative assessment, we can have formative, curriculum embedded performance assessment, classroom summative assessment, and interim assessment as well. We will revisit these purposes in some of the example in the next section. And in addition to serving different purposes, an assessment system should also measure a variety of competencies to support instruction and student learning in a comprehensive set of qualities and constructs. And the second feature of a balanced system of assessment is that it will measure a multitude of competencies. So in the new general curriculum, we have more than just academic subjects, such as social science or humanities, mathematics, or social natural sciences. In a balanced system of assessment, we should also assess student performance in physical education. We should also collect data of their social emotional skills, as well as civic education and other 21st century skills such as problem solving, creative thinking, or digital literacy. The third feature of a balanced system of assessment is that it should support various student groups. We need to pay attention to all students within our within our educational system. That's why we need to keep different student group in mind while we build and put assessment into practice. Otherwise, we won't be able to serve each and every student, and that will result in unfairness and injustice in our educational system. Universal design mindset should be adopted while we develop assessment for students from ethnic groups, low socioeconomic backgrounds, students with special need, and also adult learners. And to support students from all backgrounds, we need assessment system that can be administered in various format and devices. So here are some of the example of the item format that we can do. Each of the item format has its own pros and cons. Using a mixture of format and devices to deliver them will allow us to take advantage of each format and the digital technology, as well as the most recent developments of machine learning and natural language processing. For example, the picture in the middle of the bottom row shows how an instructor use Instagram, which is a social media platform, to send a set of classroom quizzes to her students. The example on the top right illustrates a technology-enhanced item where students can move a ruler to measure the side of a rectangular so that they can calculate the areas of that shape. With help of technology, we can make our assessment more authentic. In the next section, I will share with you some example to showcase different components of a balanced system of assessment and discuss why these assessment can help us address the assessment challenge of the new curriculum. So this first example is summative assessment to provide reliable, valid, and fair information to support high-stake decision, which is the first assessment challenge, as you can remember. So one note here is that there are many psychometric methods and procedure to make summative score reliable, valid, and fair. A country like Vietnam can build capacity in these areas to improve summative assessment. The next assessment example, interim assessment to keep track of student progress throughout an academic year toward the curriculum mastery. From the Smarter Balance consortiums in the US. So in this example from Smarter Balance consortium, interim assessment are targeting fewer topics than the summative. These assessments can be administered several times throughout the academic year to know where the students are in relation to the mastery of the annual instructional targets. Result from these instruments can inform instructional planning and personalized learning trajectory. When the construct become more fine-grained, we can have performance and formative assessment to get more detailed information about the narrower construct. So why summative or interim assessment can provide reliable and valid information on student performance on a range of curriculum standards. Performance assessment can offer more authentic learning experience. In this example, student works with a scenario in which they will need to integrate their mathematics and physics conceptual understanding and skill to capture and model the impact of the length of the ram to the distance that the cup move after being hit by the marble. Through this activity, students will have a chance to show their measuring and graphing skills. They can also interact with peers and teachers to explain what they would observe from the experiment. So this kind of assessment will be more authentic, more support student learning than the traditional summative or interim assessment. And this is another example of formative assessment for feedback and personalized learning, which is to address the assessment challenge number 5. So in this example, depending on student selections of the option, we can make inference about their level of understanding of the concepts of function. For example, if they select their zero function going through all the 3 points, it is possible that the student didn't think of nonlinear function, as you can see here. And so if student select like there are more than 2 functions, it is very likely that they know that there's nonlinear functions that can go through those 3 points in the coordinate system. So based on, and the question also asked them to explain their question about the answer for question 1. So based on their explanation, teacher can ask probing question or provide feedback to help students to move from partial conceptions of having only linear functions to full conceptions of having uncountable number of nonlinear functions that can go through those 3 points. I hope that this example makes the concepts of balanced system of assessment more explicit and have you to connect it with the assessment challenge. In what follow, I will make and discuss some policy recommendations to build such system for Vietnam. Since we still need summative assessment for some high-stake decision like graduations or university admission, or someone who can receive scholarships and so on, we will need to make sure their summative score are reliable, valid, and fair enough for these high-stake decisions. To do that, it is important to make testing purposes clear to student and score user. Then we will need to build and maintain a stable and interpretable scale to support score interpretation and fair use of the score to make high-stake decisions. The graphic on the left illustrates a standard procedure called equatings to put score of different test form. This is the more difficult test form, and this is the easier test form. We can going through some statistical adjustment procedure. We can put the score of the more difficult, easier test form onto a stable and interpretable score scale to support decision making and score interpretation. If Vietnam can develop such scale, a student can take the test multiple times per year, and score from 1 year can be used for the following years to help reduce testing pressure. And these advanced statistical procedure and quality test development can be professionalized by independent testing center, regulated by government policy and regulation. So these policies are unique for summative assessment, and we need different policy and strategy for other type of assessment that will be discussed in the next slide. So now we want to talk. I wanted to share with you some policy recommendation to develop formative performance assessment. So as we all know, we have solid evidence to believe that effective formative, interim, and performance assessment are crucial to student learning and can make life of instructor easier. There is a clear trend in educational management that educational systems should invest resources in developing a common warehouse or collections of these formative assessment from which instructor and student can choose from to meet their assessment need. IXL assessment and assessment adult skill assessment programs, or ASAP for short, are a few examples of these initiatives in the US. By developing such warehouse of assessment items or tasks at a national level, it will help us to avoid duplicated resources of teachers from different schools or provinces to invest in developing assessment to measure the same curriculum standard. And recent technology allowed teachers to customize and adapt existing assessment content to fit their student backgrounds and preferences. If Vietnam can adopt these methods, the assessment warehouse can help solve many of the current challenges of how to assess students under the new general curriculum. Why I'm quite confident about this policy recommendation, we need good strategy to turn them into practice. Why pedagogical and educational science in Vietnam has been improved significantly in the past few decades. We can do more to make it better and be responsive to the new need of the country. We can keep building the country's capacity in educational management through professional development and international collaboration activities like hosting this annual forum. Let me also take this chance to share with you that our PhD program in research and in educational measurement and psychometric are looking for new incoming students from all over the world to join us in the fall of 2024. The student will be fully funded for the first 3 years, and we will try our best to support them until they finish the program. If we can have some more Vietnamese students to come to UMass Amherst to study with us, that would be one of the best ways to build future capacity in this area for Vietnam. The next strategy is to build strong partnership between research and practice. Under this framework, practice can inform research question and investigation. In return, research can success and help measure good practices in educational assessment. Last but not least, Vietnam should keep exploring the use of machine learning and natural language processing in education. We could agree that machine learning and natural language processing cannot replace humans and teachers and school administrator, but it can support them in content generations or automatic feedback or automatic scoring. Of course, we will need to keep human in the loop when we use AIs to do assessment for education for educational purpose. But I think the more we explore, the more we invest into research in those areas, the more we will learn how to use AIs and machine learnings and natural language processing to make the life of instructor and administrator easier and makes the content generated by or the results rendered by those techniques fairer and meet the needs of the educational stakeholder. And then to conclude, today we look at the long history of educational measurement from the east to the west. We know that different kind of assessment has been existed for century, if not more, to serve different purposes, to measure different competencies, to serve different student groups, and to take advantages of different formats and devices. Being mindful of the present suggested us that we need a balanced system of assessment to support the successful implementation of the new general curriculums of Vietnam. if we rely too heavily on one assessment type, for instance, on summative assessment, we can lose sight of ongoing student progress throughout the years, and we will fail to support them when they need our assistance the most. If we rarely use performance and our authentic assessment, hardly can we keep track of the 21st century skills such as problem solving or creative thinking of our students to help them develop and strengthen these much needed skills. By now, we would agree that a balanced system of assessment is needed to successfully implement the new general curriculum. To build such system, we need to keep building our national capacity in pedagogical and educational science through professional development and international collaboration. For summative assessment, international standard can offer many good suggestions for us to improve our current tests. We should also strengthen the relationship between the research communities and practitioners to bring research closer to the classroom, especially the research on student learning can be used to inform best practices in formative performance assessment to support student learning. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation today. Thank you so very much for your attentions, and I'm looking forward to hearing more of your feedback about my my talk today. Here are some of the reference that I have for this presentation, and this is my contact information. Keep in mind that we are looking for a few fully funded PhD students to join us from the fall of 2024. Please send us some good candidate from Vietnam. Thank you in advance, and enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you.